What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we are looking at the Austin Major 2025 Stage 1. This is my Dallas playoffs lineup. I didn't make a video because I was traveling for the last month, and I've just returned a couple days ago to Finland. But yeah, did pretty okay, but nothing special. Honestly, at this stage, I'm just doing it for fun and trying to get like top one or top three for the prizes, because the season game is pretty much over for me at this stage, and just waiting for the next season to start in terms of that one. Unfortunately, some very bad events from me this season around, but you know, it happens. In this stage, so I already made my pick'ems, and the only 3-0 team I feel comfortable with is Heroic. So probably gonna be going double Heroic, even though their players are pretty expensive. And then apart from that, there's some teams that I could go for who I think might go through at least. And I don't think that there's any other very clear favorite for 3-0. So it's a bit of a gamble either way. Here's some of the most picked players. I am not surprised to see all of the Heroic players up here. Alan Z, of course, the cheapest player from Heroic, under 200k. So yeah, that makes sense. And for me, the best value probably is Sun Payus. For 218, seems like a great deal to me. Even though, of course, Sun Payus and Saw are about to leave after the major to go to G2, I still don't feel like it's gonna impact this team very negatively. I do expect them to still do decently, at least at this stage of the major. So yeah, probably going double Heroic, and I think Sun Payus is one of the players. Apart from that, depends on the money I have, but LNZ is an option. Youngstar probably also an option. I'm probably gonna stay away from Xfloud or Tenier. Like Tenier, I'd love to have, but the price is just a bit too much, probably. So yeah, what is the other team? It really comes down to the player prices in terms of what the other team can be, because like FlyQuest pretty expensive, Bait pretty expensive, like Essential is maybe an option, especially with this high headshot percentage. I like that as a potential pick. Stanislaw, I do think wildcard have a decent chance of making it through. And well, yeah, Stanislaw can definitely be good enough as a pick in that case. And one team, like I think OG is actually one of those teams that definitely could make it through, and their player prices are pretty damn low. Like if you go double OG, you can probably afford a lot of the better players from teams like Heroic. And because I don't really know which other team I would like to go for, and because I want to take a bit of a risk, I do think I'm gonna go for double OG here, alongside my double Heroic. Just differentiates me from the masses fair amount. I think someone like Nikodos for 202k can be very good at this stage specifically. And then there's some other options. I think I'm gonna go towards Buzz as the cheapest player on OG, who also has a decent amount of experience, and it looks like his support round percentage is also pretty good, so should make sense role-wise as well. As I said, Sun Payus, a player I want to go towards. And then, well, yeah, the question becomes like, what can we afford? Like Youngstar, 193. So you could do Lias, but I'm not so happy picking him, I don't think. I'm not so sure about that, actually. So if you go LNZ, you have a little bit more in terms of your budget, 203. How has Nikodos actually been on this OG lineup so far? So he's played a decent amount already, and he definitely is fragging at this tier. For the most part, at least. Okay. What are some other options on the OG lineup then, if I can't afford that? Prison, I've heard a lot of good things about. The Iku, of course, if you want to go for like a Tenier lineup, that's potentially an option. Like Sanpayus and Tenier. With Fiku and Bus and 185. 185, who can we afford for that? It's a bit of an awkward price point. I feel like it would... Man. I'm not very happy picking any of these players, to be honest. Go for Prison. Who do we... Can we afford Stan? No, we're like 1k off Stanislaw then. It's a bit unfortunate. So probably not a Tenier lineup then, in my opinion. And I just feel like the difference between LNZ and Youngstar is worth 10k. I don't think this is worth 12k. I think Youngstar is the one I would like to go towards. And yeah, I think Boss makes sense. If you go Prison instead of Nikodos, we have 204k here. A bait player isn't out of the question either, as like a fifth. I do feel like bait is one of those teams that could go 3-0 here. I have heard that Prison is like a bit of a rising star. Essential, like Nikodos, can't afford Essential. Like I'd go for Essential here for sure if I could. Always a bit difficult, isn't it? Nikodos seems to me to be worth it. What if you go Nikodos and Prison? Have 185 again. Doesn't feel quite right to me. I do think Nikodos is the kind of player that can definitely tear things up here. Like one of the main reasons to go for OG, maybe even. I do like Buzz as an option. 193. I don't want to go for Liaz. Then once we get to these players, I'm just not comfortable enough in these teams. I'm not very high on them. At MB. Yeah, I don't want to go for that. Cloud, you get 181. X-Cloud is so... just feels like such a volatile pick. He has been fragging lately. He was very good in Dallas. 181, we could go for like Stanislaw. I think that's probably the player I'd go for here. And I do feel like Stanislaw's the kind of player that can put up decent numbers for his price. Yeah, I think we're gonna do that actually. So I'll do to get the nice and symmetrical look to my lineup. I like this lineup actually quite a lot. I think the budget picks here makes sense, as long as OG does well. I don't know if OG will do well, but it's worth a gamble in my eyes. They probably Buzz on support, I assume. Him or Stanislaw, but probably Buzz. X-Cloud is probably on entry, right? Yes. Make sure there's nothing crazy good for him. But yeah, entry makes sense. Nikodos probably main op. Actually only 23. Yeah, okay. He doesn't op that much anymore, but maybe Sanpayu's on op then. Yeah. That seems just correct, straight up. What is good on Nikodos? Multi? Multi or attacker? I'll go multi. And then Stanislaw, probably something like eco, right? Yeah. Pretty good rolls as well for this team. I'm happy with these. Yeah, that's a pretty bad. I mean, yeah, it's got a lot of the budget goes into Heroic, who I think is going 3-0. We gamble on the team because we're chasing the top 3, and I think Stanislaw is one of the better budget options at this tier of opposition. Once you get to opponents that are tougher than this, I think it's going to be hard, but yeah. I'm happy with this. This is the new booster. Just about whether or not you win your game. OG have a pretty tough first matchup. I don't know when I'm going to use that, but not for now. I think this makes sense. KSD versus Chingis. Pistol round. These are the kinds of boosters I like to use early. I mean, against complexity, I think. Oh, but X-Flout is super high on that. Okay. Stanislaw has a better headshot percentage. I can't remember there being anyone that's super high headshot percentage on Medisport, so let's go for that here. Avenger on Nikodos is one option. Flash. Scorecard. Let's go Avenger, I think. Or actually Saver. Let's go Saver here. It's a pretty tough matchup to start out with. It's of course best of ones. Maybe I should be using the worst boosters as well. Actually, that makes sense. I'll go for worst boosters. I forgot about the fact that it's best of ones to start out with. Saver is one of the worst ones. KSD I want to still use early. Stanislaw is probably one of his worst ones. One of his worst boosters. What is something I would want to put on Buzz? I guess this one is actually pretty good to have early. Should I use this in a best of one? Kind of. I kind of should use this in a best of one. Because the chance of it triggering is pretty much the same, which is not the case for a lot of other boosters. So yeah, you should use this in a best of ones. Whether it's this best of one or one that's later, that's up to interpretation, but I'll save it for the next one. Probably depends on the team whether you should use it first round or second. But what should I put on Buzz is the question. I can of course not put anything here. I don't feel comfortable. I should still be able to put on all the boosters eventually. There's no really bad boosters left. But it's like in a best of... I anyways need to have a best of one... Some best of one boosters. And this is hard because there's no booster that I really want to put on Buzz. Like Quad is okay. Maybe, but even that is like he's one of the worst. The worst for Flash. I'm just not gonna put anything on him for now. I feel like in this matchup it's pretty hard to trigger any of those boosters, so we can just leave it like this and save the boosters for later. I should be able to use them only if like both OG and Heroic go 3-0 and Wildcard goes 3-1. Maybe in that case I don't get to use all of my boosters, but if that happens, then it happens. Yeah, this is my lineup. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content and want to see both my fantasy videos for the major and the pick'em videos, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.